Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be giving you some tips on how to run your first half marathon. So my first tip would be to run at a variety of different paces. So like easy runs, which should be like between a 4 and a 5 out of 10 effort. It should be very easy. You should be able to have a conversation with someone. Then the second type of run would be a steady or tempo kind of run, where it's a bit harder than easy, but you can still say a couple of words here and there, have short sentences. Next up after that should be some short intervals. So maybe 3-minute intervals, 5-minute intervals. And just doing those a couple of times. So maybe starting out with doing only 3 or 4, and then as you progress and get better, you can work your way up and start doing more 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 of these reps. And then the last should be the long run. I remember that when I first started running, I would run all my runs at the same pace. So I would run always close to my 5k pace or 10k pace and just run full out. And basically by the end I would just not be able to run another kilometer or so, and I'd just be completely exhausted. So that's not the idea. Maybe you would feel like that in the beginning in your long runs, but the idea is really to vary your training. Easy runs should be easy. You should be able to run further if you wanted to, and intervals should be short bursts, which should be hard, but they shouldn't be too long that you're dying by the end and you can't complete the session. There are different tools on the internet which you can use, which will help you get an estimate of your easy pace, your tempo pace, your interval pace, your long run pace. So I'll leave a link to those in the description below, so you can plug in maybe a 5k time or something like that, and you can check out what paces you should be running at for these different types of runs. Another important thing is obviously training properly for the race, so making sure that you build up your long run slowly up to maybe 16 or 18 kilometers if you're just trying to complete the half marathon distance for the first time. Obviously, if you've run a few half marathons and you want to improve your time, you might want to consider running longer than a half marathon distance in training. But for most beginners, I think running 16 to 18 kilometers in training will give you enough of a base to be able to run the full marathon distance on race day. Obviously, training is a very important part in being able to run a half marathon. So finding a training plan that works for you, or getting a coach on board who can give you a training plan which works for you specifically. Some people run twice a week and complete half marathon. Some people run 3 times a week, 4 times, or even 5 times a week. So it's really individual and how much your body is able to adapt to the training. Training consistently over a long period of time, so 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks training cycle is much more beneficial, and you'll have a better result on come race day than if you would just run 4 or 5 times a week and then get injured and then just show up for your race. Another good way to train is by cross training, so either adding gym sessions or sessions on the bike, elliptical, or maybe in a swimming pool will help you build an aerobic base, which will definitely help you on race day. Another important thing to do in your training is to add strides. So strides are short bursts of 15 to 20 seconds in which you start slowly and build into it. By the end you should be running at about 95% of your maximum effort, where you're really focusing on high turnover, high cadence, and good running form. This will help you so that then when you're running longer distances, your form will be better. You will be covering the ground more efficiently. Another important thing is pacing. So pacing is very important. Whether you're running just to complete the race, or if you're running for a specific time in mind. It's important to have a pacing strategy, which is either an even pacing split, so you're trying to run every kilometer, every mile at the same pace, or else maybe a negative split, so where you start out a bit slower and you work into it and you slowly progress and you get faster until the end. I've run some half marathons where I started out way too fast, and then come 10-kilometer mark, 15-kilometer mark, you're exhausted and you feel like you can't run anymore, and you really have to drastically slow down. And that makes for a long day running, and it's not as enjoyable definitely as if you're overtaking people in the race. You're getting stronger towards the end, so I would definitely not recommend doing that. There are a lot of race predictors out on the internet, so you can check those out in the description of this video. You can enter a 5k time or a 10k time, and it would predict how you would fare over a longer distance, and it might give you a good estimate of what you're capable of doing right now in a half marathon. There are also some predictor workouts you can do, and I'll list those on the screen now, so you can screenshot those and maybe try them in your training. Also, another important thing to do is to carb load before your race. Having either some pasta or some pizza, maybe rice, before your race, the night before. It's very important, so to just top up those glycogen stores, and you'll be ready come race day. You'll have those extra carbs ready to be used as energy in the race. I would try to stick to easily digestible foods that are not so saucy, don't have a lot of sauce, lots of cream, maybe that aren't so spicy also, because that just might upset your stomach. So in this case, bland food is safer and better for your race. Save those fancy foods, spicy foods for after your race. So I think it's also important to practice your race day kit. So make sure to try out those new shoes that you bought for the race. Wear them a few times, wear them on your long runs, practice in your kit, practice any nutrition that you're going to be taking during the race. So if you're going to be taking gels, chews, maybe some carbohydrate drink. You can also check out the race website and maybe see what they're going to be handing out at the aid stations, if they're going to be handing out water, if they're going to be handing out energy drinks, and maybe practice with that in your training if you're planning on taking that during the race. Another important thing is really to take on some carbohydrates during the race. So I would practice with this, so see what your body can handle, see what you're able to take in the race. Maybe gels, maybe chews, maybe a carbohydrate drink, whatever works for you, because everyone's different and not everything works as well for everyone. So I would just say try as many different products as possible to see what works best for you. So if you liked this video or found it useful, then make sure to give it a like and subscribe, and maybe share it with a running friend who needs to see this.